Hey everybody, this is Kevin and Carly Suloxon.
And we're leading a small group at our home in Burquitlam on Tuesday nights.
Wait, but tonight's Tuesday. Where is everyone? Oh, I've got an idea. You know what it is? It's probably just this thing. Hey! There's everyone! Hello.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Corner. I'm Rachel and I'm here with Alita.
Yeah.
And Mike's small group, the lone picture on the mantle.
It's a great picture. You
It's
can't
good.
see it, but this is a great picture.
Name tags, peace signs. It's good to be with them here. Just a reminder, send in your photos. We would love to have you and feature you on the bookshelf.
Absolutely. Posters. We've had groups do that before.
Yeah.
Whatever you've got, we'll take it. Very exciting.
We're so excited and encouraged at what's happening in small groups this year. We've been going through the series on the 10 Commandments. And I think it's one thing to be there on Sunday and listen to the sermon and maybe you're thinking, oh, that's a great sermon, but getting the space in the small group context or with a smaller community to hash it out and ask questions like, how is Sabbath working for you?
Right.
How do you do this? How do I do this? It's really helpful. It's one of the beauties of small group is getting to be together and ask, how do I live this stuff out? And so we're really glad that you're part of a small group and that you're here today. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, awesome. Just a couple of community updates before we get into this last week's sermon. So 2 things. One is that we have a women's night coming up and it's dinner party night. It's on Friday, November 3rd. So if you haven't registered, we'd actually love for you. Invite a friend. Think of somebody who maybe isn't in a small group, isn't plugged in. Invite them to come along with you. And then other update is that we're in the middle of our month of generosity still. So if you have questions, feel free. Please look online and look at who our partners are and pray about where you can get involved. And month of Gen.
Yeah.
October.
Last week we heard from our global partners, and this past week we got to hear from some of our local partners, and so it's so encouraging. We encourage you to tonight talk and discuss and think about ways you might want to get involved in the month of generosity as we give together in Jesus' name.
Awesome.
We're in the 5th commandment today, so I'm going to read it, and then we're going to launch right into what we spoke about on Sunday.
Awesome.
It says, honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you.
Yeah. It's we talked about this on Sunday, but this is the first of what we're calling the horizontal commands. So up to this point, the first 4 commands were vertical. So they dealt primarily with our relationship with the Lord. And now these are the horizontal commands. And these begin to deal with our relationship with one another. And I think it is so interesting and beautiful that the very first relationship that God deals with is our family relationship, our family of origin, and our parents. So, Rachel, you also preached Sunday night. What stood out to you as you were studying and prepping for preaching?
Yeah, similar thing that when I was reading about this and studying this, what really stood out to me is God's care for and love for the family unit, like his commitment towards it, his intentionality towards it. And it was really interesting to learn about the importance and the significance of family values in the ancient Jewish world, how it was kind of embedded into culture and in tradition. It wasn't just a social or cultural or economic institution. It was like a deeply sacred and divine institution. And so it does make sense why it would be included in the 10 Commandments.
And that it wasn't just for them, but for all time.
Yeah.
Like that was the importance of it.
Yeah, the relationships and the dynamics within the family unit is so important. And that's kind of what stood out to me.
Awesome. So one thing that I found really interesting is that this command is the only one that's actually accompanied by a promise spelled out for us in the text. you said it, and it's actually Daryl's book, "So That You May," or "That You May Live." That comes from this verse: "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." So you can talk more about that. We don't have time to get into all the nuance of that, but that's the only command accompanied by a promise, and that's really significant. Just the way that even the commands are spelled out for us. So, yeah.
Alita, maybe it'd be helpful if you helped us understand the word honor here, maybe specifically in this context, what the word honor represents. I think it's interesting that this is the first time in the Ten Commandments the word honor is used, but it's not the first time the concept of honor is written into these 10 commandments. The first commandments talk about honoring God. We honor God by honoring his name. We honor God by honoring his image, by keeping the Sabbath holy. And then here in this commandment, we honor God by honoring our parents. So what does honor here translate to and mean for us?
Well, I found this so interesting. Whenever you look at the original word for this in the Hebrew, it's a word that means to be heavy or weighty, which it really threw me for a loop. How then do you translate that into honoring your mother and father? And in Daryl's book, he really helped me to understand it. And so I'm quoting Daryl now. He says, to honor our parents means that we are to feel the weightiness of their position. And that really helped me to understand this, to understand that it's an acknowledgement of going parenting. Like, here, you can quote me on this. Parenting is hard, y'all. Like, it is hard. And so to understand that what parents do, it is a weighty thing. So yeah, that's what the word means in this context.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you. And then as we talk about this idea of honoring our parents, I'm wondering if maybe it'd be helpful if you walked us through maybe your outline, what you talked about, how you invited us to consider on Sunday.
Sure.
How we honor our parents.
I'd love to do this. So, okay, we talked about two different things. We asked the question, what does this command mean for children of all ages, by the way? And what does this command mean for parents? So the command for children, we talked about two different things. We said it means that we're to respect our parents and we're to obey our parents. And of course, again, this is one of those things. This is accompanied by a ton of nuance, because the acknowledgement here is that is very, very triggering for a lot of us, depending on your family of origin, what your growing up was like, what your parents were like. But what we all need to know is that there was these commands assumed the responsibility of parents, that they were, this command was given in anticipation that the parents were bringing up their children in the way of the Lord, that they were raising their children in fear of God. And so this responsibility here, this command is given to the children, but it's also a responsibility placed on the parents. And in fact, in the New Testament, in Ephesians chapter 6, it says this, it says, children, this sounds just like what we studied in Exodus. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. And then Ephesians goes on to say, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. So it's this, Ephesians helps us to see the full picture of this idea that the command to honor our parents is real, but it also assumes and puts a responsibility on the shoulders of the parents, that God takes very seriously the treatment of children, that they're loved and nurtured and raised right. So we talked about some of that.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about what this command says to parents, to grandparents, that we also are to respect our children. And one of the ways that we honor our kids best is by honoring the Lord, is by keeping him at the center. That's the best way that we can honor our kids. What stood out to you in your own prep?
When I found out that I was going to be sharing on this commandment, I asked Nick, who leads our kids ministry at Strathcona, if he would ask some of the kids in our church what it means to honor their parents. And one stood out as a highlight for me. One said, I don't honor my parents honor me. And
I love that.
I thought that was very funny. It's not fully wrong. There is a responsibility on the parent to honor the child and to acknowledge themselves.
They got half of it right. They got half of it right.
The weight that it is to parent in the ways of the Lord. And it's beautiful because it takes the pressure off of us. Of course, we must honor our parents. It's in the 10 Commandments. But more than that and greater than that is a responsibility and an invitation for us to honor the Lord and to weigh everything in comparison to what is God's character, what is the Lord teaching me and guiding me into. And so it's a helpful frame of reference in that sense.
That's awesome. Just as we close, I just want to end by saying that, as I mentioned earlier, it can be triggering for depending on what your background is, and none of us have perfect families, but we all come from family. And I always say that, everybody's at least a little bit dysfunctional. But the beauty of the church is that we've been put into a spiritual family. And you see that language over and over again in the New Testament. And small group is a really great representation of that. So as you go and you read through these questions and you talk and you discuss, I just pray you remember that you have been put into a family, into a spiritual family, regardless of what your biological family looks like. So love you guys and have a great discussion. Bye. I don't know if you know, Jeremy, I don't know if you know we're filming right now. I'm kidding.
Well, the
We were in
camera
the
got
middle.
turned towards you.